What's going on, everyone? I'm Abby Labar, and usually you can find me in the MLB Network studios hosting Quick Pitch, but today I'm with Steve and Paul inside the truck.
This is Inside the Truck, pulling back the curtain on sports television production. Here is Steve Lansky and Paul Hemming.
I'm Steve Lansky. I'm in my 46th year of working in sports media. I've produced Hockey Night in Canada, the Grey Cup on CBC, Sportsnet's Hockey Studio, the Olympic Winter Games, and about 15 other sports. On social media, I'm at Big Mouth Sports.
And I'm Paul Hemming. I've been a live sports TV director for 25 years. I've directed some of the biggest sporting events in North America, including the 2010 Winter Olympics, 6 Grey Cups, the 2023 Stanley Cup Final. Currently, I'm the game director for the Utah Mammoth, and you can find me on social media at @PaulHemming_.
Beauty. Episode 47. Right in the dog days of summer, man. Best number 47s in the history of professional sports. Who you got?
All right, well, we always got to start with hockey, right?
Of course.
So my vote goes to the Rhyme Minister, James Reimer. Played almost 30,000 minutes, 31 shutouts, a .910 career save percentage, and I can speak for experience because I traveled with him with the Hurricanes. He is one of the nicest guys in the NHL.
Is that what we're doing now? The nicest guys? I thought it was the best 47s. I think so. When he played in Toronto, they called him Optimus Rhyme, and I'm like, oh my god, you guys are digging so hard, and you're coming up with nothing. What about? Do we not throw Cliff Ronning into that pile?
Who? He didn't wear 47, did he? I thought he was I think he was at 20s.
Well, I have Cliff Ronning at one point wearing 47, and the reason he's on my list
in the NHL.
I don't know the answer to these questions. We did Rob Brown when he wore 44 in Kamloops, so we got to be able to do Rob.
Okay. Okay.
Take that grin off your face. Oh my God, that's a huge grin. Wait a minute. Cliff Ronning had 89 goals and 197 points with the 84-85 New West Bruins in the Western League. That's got to count for something.
Eddie wore 47?
I don't know. I think he might have had 47. I don't know what he had with 40s. I don't
penalty minutes. Yeah. All right, let's.
No, he did wear 47.
Okay.
I swear to God, he wore 47.
All right, I'll put it in the Google machine later.
Yeah, you do that.
Back to you on that. Okay, baseball. I'm pretty sure we agree on this one. There is really only one.
I don't know how it could be anybody else.
Right, Jack Morris, 5-time All-Star, 4-time World Champion, no-hitter, Hall of Famer. Game 7, 1991 World Series, one of the greatest moments in MLB postseason history. Also toss in 10 shutouts and a complete game 1-0 win over the Braves. I rest, Your Honor.
Jack Morris? What about Tom Glavine?
No, Jack Morris, baby.
Oh my God, no. Tom Glavine was a way better pitcher than Jack Morris. It's not even close.
You take the body of his work and his credentials. It's Jack Morris, baby.
You said Jack Morris, but I know you meant Tom Glavine.
You know, Paul, Tom Glavine won 20 or more 5 times with the Braves, had 25 shutouts, won 2 Cy Youngs, had 10 All-Star selections, and won the 1995 World Series as the MVP. Shockingly, I think Steve-O might just be right.
Okay.
Okay. NFL next. All right. I know we got to agree on this one.
Do we?
Right? Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Mel Blount, one of the most dominant DBs in NFL history, 4-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Pro Bowler, the definition of physicality at that position.
And we agree on Mel Blount. I would have to look this up unless you know it. Was he the guy who hit Darryl Stingley?
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, sadly, don't Google it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't Google it.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah. He hit you like a Mack truck every time.
What is even going on here today? It was Oakland Raiders DB Jack Tatum who hit Darryl Stingley. Mel Blount had nothing to do with it. Do not make me come back to correct anything else. Please.
Uh-oh, buddy. And NBA, I'm sure we can agree on this. Nobody?
I actually found one. I did. And this is this one is completely for the state of Utah. Andrei Kirilenko, AK-47. He had a solid NBA career, 11 seasons with the Jazz, go Jazz, versatile forward, and an all-round game with shot blocking ability. AK-47 gets my vote.
I don't want to say anything against the Jazz, but the Jazz are the New Orleans Jazz. I don't know what the Utah Jazz is, but the Jazz are the New Orleans Jazz, with Pete Maravich. Those are the only Jazz in NBA history.
No way, baby. There's a couple of statues of some pretty impressive players in front of Delta Center.
Stockton and Malone won how many rings? That's right. Mic drop.
All right. Moving on to mailbag. We had actually a ton of feedback from Dominic Moore in 46. We did.
I don't know why we wouldn't have.
Yeah, we did. And due to time constraints and something I know that you want to get after, I was just going to say thank you for everybody who hit us up via social media with nothing but kudos for Dom, as it should have been. Yeah, that was a great episode. So thank you guys for taking the time to write in. We love getting your feedback. We love hearing from you. But we're going to move on quickly to After the Pod, Steve.
Right.
Because after the pod, we chatted about this, and you said you wanted to carve in some time to chat about this today. The Athletic released their annual NHL broadcast fan poll. So this is the fans, the viewers voting. And there were some interesting results at the top.
There were. The only result I care about was number 3. And number 3 was the Utah Mammoth in their very first year of broadcasting games. You know what would be great to do on this podcast? I wonder if it'd be nice to talk to somebody from that production team to just see what they did. You got that grin again. To just see what they did this year, that last year, that made it so great.
Hold on. Let me get him on the phone. Hello. Yep, here I am. So I had a front seat for that, actually. You know what? It actually really surprised me. There were a couple things. Well, first of all, for those that you don't know, we won't get into all 32, but the top 5 national results were number 1, Detroit, with FanDuel Detroit.
Kenny Daniels, who we talked to about 2 episodes ago. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Seattle Kraken was number 2. So congratulations to Patrick Brown, who was an avid listener of. He's a trucker. So way to go, Patrick, in Seattle.
And they have John Forsland too, who's we've had John Forsland more than once on this podcast.
Right, and we'll get Edzo on, guaranteed. Then 4 was Washington Capitals with Monumental Sports. So congratulations to those guys. And then rounding out the top 5 on the national scale was the Edmonton Oilers, Steve, which I know is near and dear to your heart. Okay, so Utah. Our national score was 3.39. That checked us in at 3rd. And that, for me, was like the biggest takeaway, was that these weren't even fans in our own market. These were fans out of market that watched our show. So from our standpoint, that was pretty impressive.
Why do you think you ranked number 3? Like, why do you think you guys ranked that highly? What resonates with you?
2 things.
Yep.
Number 1 is the chemistry of our broadcast team.
Right.
And it's not just the people on the screen. It's the people that were assembled both in front of and behind the camera. First of all, the chemistry of the people that we have on the show is fantastic. Starting with Matt McConnell, Dominic Moore, Nikki Olchek as our main play-by-play analysts. Their chemistry is amazing. The way they figured out a 3-man booth as quickly as they did, the way that they embraced the NHL game, new in Utah and everything. I really feel like for Matty McConnell, it was a renaissance of his career. Dominic Moore he'd done national shows before, but to be able to do it every day with a team, it took Dom from like an A+ to an A++. And Nikki's just one of the finest young broadcasters that is in this league. So if that's what you're starting with as your base core, then that's a great start. Sarah Merrifield, our ringside reporter, Kim Becker, our studio host, personalities exuding. Like, I mean, it was how they connected with the audience, both regionally and national. I get it there. Behind the scenes chemistry, myself, Doug Foster, we hit it off like right away. Dougie's, been around the league for a long time with the Dallas Stars for a number of years and then produced the Arizona Coyotes. And he is one of the nicest guys in the game and a great partner. Understands the game, and we really gelled like right out of the gate. So I just think if you roll all these things in together, it was like, wow, we caught like lightning in a bottle, and the shows spoke for themselves.
If you've worked with, I'll just pick the number 100. If you've worked with 100 producers in your career as a director, and let's say I've worked with 100 directors as a producer on live events, how many would you say out of that 100 you've had really good chemistry with?
Maybe 3.
I was going to say 5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
isn't that amazing how it's that
Mhm.
small of a number? People at home might go, really?
Yeah.
You can be professional, but when you have that chemistry,
Yeah.
it's, you know what it is? I can't think of any other way to say that you can read each other's mind. And once you read oh my God,
Yep.
it's insane when you can read each other's mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only so the chemistry that I have with Doug, it's like that, but also like Doug quickly figured me out as a person as well too, and sort of like, we've all got idiosyncrasies, right? And he figured mine out like right out of the gate. So he'd give me extra leash when I needed it. He'd keep me on a short leash when I needed it. I mean, he was the master at not only being a great partner on the front bench and when the game's going on, but he also got me as a guy and so and vice versa. We became fast friends. And that allows you to take the show to a different level at that point, right? You're not just two people sitting down the front bench executing your roles in a silo. It is truly a team up there. And when we walk into a truck together, no matter where it is, the production crew loves us, the technical crew loves us. They like working for our shows. We heard that multiple times across the board in a lot of cities on the tour. So, I mean, that's a fairly large accomplishment in year one.
I've never met Doug Foster, but I'm sure he's going to listen to this. And Doug, if I can give you one piece of advice, having known Hemming for 40 years, the short leash is your friend. Paul, our guest today is Abby Labar, who you've known for almost a decade, a dynamic sports broadcaster, grew up in North Carolina, studied at NC State. Her professional career began in 2017 as a digital media reporter for NC State's Pac Pride, and she worked with you on Carolina Hurricanes broadcasts. In 2024, she joined MLB Network as the host of Quick Pitch, and we're going to talk about that too. She's recognized for her authenticity and ability to connect with audiences. And we caught up with Abby just before she had to head into her Quick Pitch studios in New York.
Abby, welcome to Inside the Truck. Great to have you join us today. A long overdue 47 episodes it took us, Steve, before we got Abby to join the show.
I wasn't special enough for 50. Come on.
Well, maybe you come back. We can kill 2 episodes and then you can come back.
Or 100.
Okay, I'll come back at 100. That's better than 50.
Yeah. So, Abby, I think there's no better place to start than the start. And this is actually a question that, you and I go back to 2018 together with the Carolina Hurricanes. This is something I've actually never asked you. Growing up in Denver, North Carolina, what sparked your love for sports and storytelling?
Yeah, it's so funny because especially in North Carolina, right? Professional sports are not really a big, and at the time too, the Hurricanes weren't good. Like, let's be frank. Like growing up, we went to a couple Charlotte Checkers games. We had the Hornets, which were the Bobcats, and then the Hornets, so that was confusing. And the Panthers were good for like a second. We had the excitement of Cam Newton there, and then things have been pretty downhill since. So, just growing up, I played a million different sports. I was always active as a kid. My parents had me in pretty much every organized sport under the sun. And then I kind of ventured out a little bit too. I did some horseback riding and I swam in the summers. When I was in school, I was running cross country. I was playing soccer, playing basketball. I think I'd pretty much tried, honestly, like everything. I did a little bit of track. And so I always like had a love for just like being active and understood like what it meant to be an athlete and just stay disciplined, because obviously, you know how it is, especially when you're in school, like as a young kid, grades were important too. And my parents were always extremely hard on me. And I had to try really hard in school. I wasn't one of those that could just like take a test and get straight A's without like really working at it. And so I think I just naturally had this love for and passion and understanding for athletes and just sports in general, and just how it was an outlet too for me. Like horseback riding specifically was really good relieving stress for me, especially in high school. It was like therapeutic. And before I really understood mental health or was in touch with my own mental health, like that, I think really helped my mental health at a young age, just trying to figure out who I was. And so there was a time where I think it was like in high school, like towards the end of high school, we were talking about colleges and where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do with the rest of our lives. And I was like, I'm not very smart. Like, I don't think I can like be a doctor or a lawyer. Like, what is there to do with my life? And I had gone to a couple college football games with my papa. He was a big Tennessee guy. So we would go to Tennessee homecoming games. And I loved just the atmosphere and, painting myself orange and the fans and just the entire experience. And one of the games that we went to was around the time that I was exploring what I wanted to do with my life and looking at colleges. And he was like, let me take you into the broadcasting school, like communications, broadcasting. Like, I see you fitting into that. And I was like, well, I never thought about like being on TV as a job. You watch these people and you don't really realize like, wait, like I can do that. Like, I didn't realize that. And so I was in this school, in the communication school at Tennessee, and I saw like pictures of like students, like kids that were like my age, like in these studios and reporting and on the sideline. And I was like, that's really interesting. And so, ironically, in one of my high school classes, I had a career decisions class where we kind of were given a project around the same time I was like doing this tour with my papa. And I did sports broadcasting as like one of the projects. They were like, okay, look into like whatever you would want to do for your career and just kind of explore that. So I went broadcasting, but then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do sports because I love sports and that just feels really fun. And, so I kind of dove into that. And like, as I created this brochure for this project, I just, I'm one of those people where I set my mind to something and like, I'm pretty stubborn. It's hard to like, veer me in another direction. And so I was like, this is what I want to do and I'm not going to do anything else. And so as soon as I, got into NC State, I hit the ground running because I just felt in my heart like a passion and a calling to that this is what I wanted to do with my life.
And you thought that would carry you all the way through, like that passion never waned, nothing?
I knew very quickly just from my research. So I was a big, like, before I, kind of right when I got to NC State, I started researching, like, how do I, how can I become successful? And I was looking at I would literally go to Wikipedia pages of like Molly McGrath, Erin Andrews, all these women that I followed. And I would go down to their like prior history and their personal history. And I would figure out, okay, like, where did they start? And I would read things and hear things about like it's a grind, it's really tough. I knew very quickly like I wasn't going to get paid a lot out of college. And so I think that challenge to me was very enticing. And it's kind of like like my mom's always been like, I tell you what to do and you do the opposite. Like that's how I operate. I kind of am like, okay, you tell me no, like let me show you like what I'm gonna do. And so I knew, I was like, I know this is gonna be hard and I know this is gonna be a challenge, but despite that, like there's nothing that's going to veer me another direction. So yeah, I was like, let's do it.
At NC State, you wore many hats, right? Editing,
Yeah.
producing, script writing, hosting, play-by-play, like one-man band, right?
Yeah.
Which role do you feel challenged you the most, and how did that experience prepare you for your next step in the world of broadcasting?
I think I want to say like I loved editing, but I would get very impatient with it at first because when you're learning how to edit and you're learning how to edit the right, like it takes so much time and it's very tedious. The camera work was very intriguing to me and that was a little bit different, but I feel like I picked up on that easily and it's not as like tedious as the editing aspect. And so like for me, I think editing was the hardest because it forced me to be patient. And as somebody who's like, go, go, go all the time, and I wanted projects done and I wanted to do a lot of projects at the same time, like I would get extremely frustrated when like I felt like I was editing a project too slow or I was taking too much time on it because like, I get stuck on a cut or whatever. So I would say that was probably the one that was the toughest for me, but I am glad that I learned so early because that's the one thing that I still really use, like editing and script writing. I don't, I'm not operating cameras like I used to, but just really now on my phone for social media and pulling my own videos and stuff. Like you're always going to be editing no matter where you are in this industry and no matter what level, you're going to have to be doing it to some extent.
Not only do you edit, sometimes you edit in your head while you're shooting, right?
Exactly. No, yeah, exactly. And that's the cool part, right? Like I think that's why I love the fact that because I don't even think, and it's crazy. Like I feel like I'm so far removed from those years. I'm like, what are kids even doing these days? You know, like, are they still doing that? Because local news is such a different beast. And when I was coming up, it was like, you have to be a one man band. There's no choice. Like, your first job is going to be in local news and you're going to be a one man band. So you have to learn all of this or you're not going to, succeed. And so, like, I knew from the get go, I had to learn all of those skills. And now it's like cool to be able to like understand those things because I can have conversations with that level of respect with the people that I work with in production on a daily basis, that I'm like, okay, I see what you're seeing here. I get what you're trying to do here. Like, instead of like arguing, well, this doesn't make sense. Why would you make me stand here and move here and do that? It's like, because everyone's thinking in the big picture way of like the editing and the, directing and the camera work and whatever. So, I am grateful that I had to do all of that.
While you were wrapping up at NC State, you also entered the world of the NHL. First by doing some in-arena hosting with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yep.
And then in 2019, you took a big step transitioning to rinkside reporter for the Canes regional broadcasts, and then moving on to pre and post game host as well too. So that was a big step from your collegiate days.
And you might have had a little something to do with it.
I was afraid you're going to bring that up. But like, how did that open your eyes to or change your approach to connecting with the fans and the athletes?
Yeah, I think like for so long, I always thought like sideline reporter, like I'm going to be a sideline reporter. Like that was like the job when I was in college. And so like, I think I even said a few times, like, no, I don't want to host. Like, I don't want to be stuck in a studio. LOL. Here we are, stuck in a studio every night. I didn't realize the different types of roles, nor did I realize how the industry was going to change, that I could, and it's a skill set too, right? Like, I think one of the biggest compliments that I get when I'm in my role, and like especially coming up early, which I think was really good for me to hear and understand, because then I was like, wait, like, okay, I'm good at this, is that a lot of reporters cannot be hosts and a lot of hosts struggle to report. And I had a unique skill set to be able to do both. Now the in-arena hosting, I think that absolutely had everything to do with it too, because I brought on that skill set. But when I got hired for the Hurricanes and I was doing hosting and reporting, and having that experience where it's two different skills. Okay. So the reporting aspect's a different skill than the hosting aspect. And then not only that, I am literally surrounded by my audience. Like physically, they are in the arena with me. So I can see firsthand like the impact, like whether it's things they come up and say to me or questions they ask me about the players and coaches. Like, I think that's when it really hit me that I was truly a bridge and a voice for these players and coaches and organizations to the fans, because like some of these fans would come in and it's just like, you just knew like their entire month was made by going to this Hurricanes game. And like for something as simple for them to come up and me be like, oh yeah, Rod Brindamore said this at practice yesterday. They're like, what? No way. Like in the way that they're so excited about this one thing that I do on a regular basis that I just thought was my job, and like to see and feel and hear their reaction was the moment where I really was like, okay, I not only am I where I've worked to be in my role as a reporter and a host, and I'm doing it well, but I'm actually making an impact. Like I actually have a purpose doing what I'm doing. And I think that's the goal, right? Like in any job or any career, we're always like, what's our purpose? Like, what are we doing this for? And I joke with a lot of people, like I'm in entertainment at the end of the day, but like there is a massive impact that I have on, a lot of people, a lot of sports fans. And that's really, I think the biggest shift and change for me was like, okay, I'm here and I'm doing this thing. And not only that, I'm learning a lot, but I'm also like understanding the impact that I have as a voice and like what my job is and why this is my calling to be like a reporter and a host.
When you started with the Canes, think about your first game. How intimidating was it?
That was a massive, I had heavy weight on that because I was filling in for Mike Maniscalco, and Mike had, at the time we knew he was going to be okay, but I had gotten a phone call a few, days prior. Hey, Mike's in the hospital. We don't know what it is. And it could be fine or it could be really bad. And so here I am getting the phone call that I've been waiting for, right? Like I've wanted this job. I've worked for this job. And I want to be like excited and I want to be happy, but then it's like at the expense of a person's potentially life. Like for me at how old would I have been, Chop? Like 22,
Yeah, 22. Yeah.
23 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that is a wild thing to just like try to like deal with. So not only do I have the pressure of, hey, this is essentially your audition. This is essentially like, you got to get this right. But it's also a very sensitive situation because everybody knew why I was stepping in. And so that first game, you know, thank God we knew by that first game he was going to be okay. But I still had to level with it was sensitive. And I didn't want to come in as somebody that was essentially trying to take his role, but I wanted to do a good job. And I wanted the fans to like feel that. And so like, I just remember like that day leading up to it, I was so nervous. And like, I was feeling all of those feelings. And I think because the way that it started with that amount of pressure and handling a situation like that, I felt like if I can do this, like I can do anything. And I remember that red light going on and like the fans are behind me and I just like, and I did it and I got done with it and I probably blacked out for the whole thing. But you know, and then to get the like text from Mike after, like, you know, like Mike texted me before and after, I think he said something about like, we said something about big shoes or whatever. And, you know, he was very supportive and everyone was very supportive. And to just kind of see that after was like really special. So yeah, that was a crazy first broadcast. I'll tell you what, actually, that was the first Hurricanes. I did do some college football before. And I remember that was nerve wracking, but I think the position that I was in with the Hurricanes filling in for Mike trumped kind of that first broadcast, because that first, it's the same. It's like butterflies. I'm on a college football field. I'm taking it all in. I'm like, this is awesome. Like I've always wanted to be a college football sideline reporter. Like that was really special. But then you like, you know, a really big role like that for the Hurricanes was like, that was even crazier. So there's been a lot of those. It's cool because I still feel like you know, every new opportunity or role is like a first. Like I remember, you know, MLB Network, same thing. I'm like, red light goes on. Everyone jokes about the red light going on, but like for you guys in the truck, like you get that feeling. Like the countdown starts, like something about the countdown and the light, it's just like your body, you just have this like out of body experience and you're like, here we go. And it's like the adrenaline and the excitement. And it happens like every time. Like it's not something that just goes away. Like it's always exciting.
For me, it was always 30 to air.
Yeah.
Whenever I heard 30 to air, it was like, okay. And every fiber of your being switched. Boom.
Yep. Mine's the all right, that starts from the 10 and then it's whenever I hear the open music for whatever it is. It's like the open music is always like, because there's always some sort of music at the beginning that starts playing. And it's like, okay, here we go.
You mentioned MLB Network, and I don't mean to gloss over the other part, but there was a terrible thing called COVID, right? That came in,
Yeah.
you know, at your time with Carolina, and it kind of shut our industry down, right?
Yeah.
And it was tough because as a freelancer, there was no work, there was no money coming in. It didn't matter who you reached out to or whatever, if you had an agent, if you didn't.
Yeah.
There were a lot of dead ends, right? And it kind of really shut our world down. But in 2024, you made a major move to MLB Network as a host of Quick Pitch. What was the toughest part of relocating to the Big Apple and stepping into the national spotlight, bam, right away?
Yeah, I think like for me in like COVID, I was very lucky. Like I had the Hurricanes job still, and then I was doing college football during COVID. But and Chop, you know this, I was out of the industry for a year before I moved to New York because of just some personal things that I was navigating. And I really needed, I think, that reset for just who I was as a person, but from a professional standpoint, massively as well. Like because my career just kind of steamroll. Like I started, as soon as I started going up, I was going and I was going and I was going, and it was nonstop. And I think at such a young age, when you're trying to navigate that type of attention and that just like, you know, you're on the road with hockey all the time, and it's mentally and physically taxing. I needed to really like take a step back and figure out like, okay, like how do I now move forward if I start getting into national TV, like prepared for it this time? You know, not that I wasn't prepared for before, but sometimes you're going as you go. And so making that leap to New York and not having worked for a year in really any, you know, show, like I'm like, do I even know what to do? Like, do I remember how to be a broadcaster? And so like I gave myself 2 months. I saved up my money and I moved up here. I talked with my agents. I had a couple conversations with some networks. And so I felt good about getting a couple freelance opportunities more on the regional side, to be honest. So, MSG was the first ones to hire me. And that was exciting because I was back in hockey, and that kind of put my name back on the map. And I honestly didn't even expect like moving to New York immediately to like really jump right into the national job. But just the timing and everything worked out, and MLB Network was like, I had auditioned for them a couple times, and they were like, come back in, let's do another one. And like I just remember getting that phone call from my agents, and I was like in tears, like I was just sobbing, and I was just like, it was the wow. Because it was crazy, because it was like I had worked so much for this, like I'd worked my entire career for this, but because I hadn't really done a lot of TV work recently, I was like, this doesn't even feel real, And so it was, I had kind of just been navigating New York and getting used to it. I will say the biggest surprise is everyone's way nicer than I thought they were going to be. I'm like, I'm a girl from the South. I'm about to come up here, and all of these like Northerners are going to be like, who do you think you are trying to make it in our city? And I think that's what helped me so much at MLB Network is, and I've done this a lot throughout my career, Chop, this, like I didn't know hockey when I got into hockey. So I'm very honest and transparent about like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, but like I'm going to figure it out. And I kind of had that mindset going to New York with people I met on the streets, people I met at events, and then people that I met in the industry. And it was the same thing with MLB Network. I was like, hey, I haven't covered baseball since college. I just moved to the city. I don't really know what I'm doing, but if I want to learn, I want to be the best that I can be at this job. Like if you trust me and you allow me to lean on you guys and let's work together, like I will be really good for you. And that's MLB Network pretty much like took me in with that. And I think that was so surprising, especially on a national level, because I think when you think national, everyone's like, they expect you to be like a pro's pro. And like, yeah, you are, you've worked your way to get to that point, but it's still okay to be vulnerable and be like, hey, like, I do need help with these pronunciations. Can you remind me, like, who are the good players right now? Like you have to have those honest conversations. And for the network and, a national station to be like, yeah, like we'll help you. We're here. We're a resource for you. We want you to succeed. Like, and Chop, it might have even been you and I that had the conversation years ago, when I had the Vegas Golden Knights job. And somebody said, and you and I might have talked about it, but they said, if you audition for a job and you're trying to be somebody that you're not, like you're trying to fake it, and then they hire you for the job, well, then are you just going to be that pretend person the whole time? Like, are you just going to fake it the whole time? Versus like,
Right.
if you're just truly your authentic self and you get the job, then you are comfortable going into that role knowing like, hey, this is who I am, and you guys accept that. Versus like trying to fake it, and then the entire time you're just miserable trying to be somebody you're not. So I think that was the biggest surprise, and that was what was really special for me, just like taking that leap and just the comfort and the aspect of like everybody wanted to be supportive. And even though it's a national job, it's intimidating at times, but I feel a lot more comfortable in that position than I ever thought that I would.
You said, I can figure it out, and you used the word vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I don't want to confuse confidence with overconfidence.
Yeah.
But is a lot of this not just confidence and being comfortable with yourself?
100%. I think like that's it. It's the comfortable with myself. And like I get asked a lot now, like, who's your biggest competition? And it's like, I don't see anybody in my field as my competition, because what I have to offer is completely different than the person next to me. Like, I think I'll use an example, right? Like Taylor McGregor. Taylor McGregor is one of my dearest friends. She is so freaking good at what she does. I would say we're very similar. If you look at a lot of the reporters or hosts that are kind of in a similar role as I am, I would say Taylor and I probably are one of the more similar people. And she fills in on Quick Pitch. We do a lot of MLB Network stuff together. But I still look at Taylor and I would never ever think of her as competition for me, because even though we're very similar, she still is different, very different than me. There's different things that she has to offer. And somebody that's hiring Taylor doesn't want an Abby. And somebody that's hiring Abby doesn't want a Taylor. And it's not a matter of your skill set at this point and where we are in the industry. It's more so just like what we have to offer personality wise, and like who we are and how people work with us. And I think once you get to a certain level, it's a really good feeling to be able to sit back and be like, I'm no longer like chasing this certain type of, like, I think I even would watch YouTube videos and be like talk the way that other reporters talked. I'd like try to have that reporter voice, because you're trying to learn from, others. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I do think the moment that you kind of realize like this is who I am and people are either going to like it or they're not, then that's a really freeing and like special feeling, especially in our world.
You nail that every night, Abby. For our listeners that have not watched MLB Quick Pitch, you need to. Quick Pitch, for those of you who don't know, is a nightly highlights and analysis show wrapping up the night, the day and the night that was in Major League Baseball. And Abby, you come up. Well, I'm just saying this because you're a friend. You come up with some of the most amazing, creative ways.
We do some goofy stuff.
You totally do. And the thing that blows me away the most is like, look at how long the season is for MLB, but
Yeah,
yet every night you find a way to hit I'll steal a baseball analogy, to hit a home run
literally.
with some sort of creative way for your segment. So how do you do that? Like that
Yeah.
like what kind of team you got going on back there, and how much time do you have to put all this stuff together?
Oh my God. No, full team effort. And again, that goes back to like the network just embracing like who I am, right? And it's so cool now. Like my researchers will write some of my, let me backtrack. I'll give you the whole process first and then I'll kind of dive into a little more. So basically my producer will send out a rundown about this time. It's about 2:30 Eastern time. So 3 p.m. Eastern time. And they'll send out a rundown of the topics we want to hit. Depending on the producer that I have, sometimes they'll dive in a little more to here's an idea I have. Sometimes it'll just be very generic. And then when I get in, my director is on the email, my graphics guy's on the email, my set content people are on the email. And so everyone's wheels are kind of already turning as we see that initial email. And so when I get into the studio, a lot of people will come up to me, like whether it's a researcher, whether it's my director, whether it's the, set content guy. It's fun because it doesn't matter what department they're in, they come up with an idea. And so like they'll come and be like, hey, I saw this and it triggered this movie reference. We should look at doing this movie reference, or like sometimes we'll come in and like I'll already have ideas and I'll be like, oh, this triggered that idea or whatever. And you're literally just brainstorming. And so we get into our meeting and everybody's like coming up with what would be fun. And as they've gotten more comfortable with me, they know like things that I succeed in and that I like. And so they know that I love playing a host role. So like hosting Wheel of Fortune or hosting a dating show or hosting. And so, anytime it's a chance to do a hosting thing, they know I'm going to like have fun and buy in. They know I'm really bad at accents. So we stay away from accents. I can't do an accent. I can't speak other languages. It's actually a massive weakness of mine, which is really bad for like it's so bad. So we stay away from accents. But so they've gotten to know me and what I like and what's fun, and everyone genuinely just like comes together and thinks of ideas. And like there's so many nights where like I'll come in and I'm like, guys, I'm tired. Like I had literally yesterday, I was like, I had a migraine all day. Like I need some brainstorm help. And so we'll sit there and we'll all just chop it up in the meeting and come up with stuff. And like my researchers now too, because like I will write my on camera, like my first on camera is like all the big leads that go into like the main like bits or whatever. I'm fully writing those. So there's usually about 3 or 4 of those. And then the page twos is what we call them, basically like the stats that come off of all the highlights. My researchers are pumping into the prompter. They know I like puns. They've gotten to know my voice. And so it's really fun to see how they write, because I'm not seeing that script a lot of times until it comes up on the prompter when I'm in the studio. And so it's really special to know that like everyone like cares, and they're like, let's make the show good because Abby cares about the show. So we care about the show and how would she talk and how would she approach writing this. So that's what's cool about it.
Teamwork is the absolute best in television, right?
Yeah.
What is I know this is hard to pull out on a short time frame. What's the best advice you think you've ever received?
I think the one that I mentioned was a good one about the auditions. I think that I shared that one a lot about just like not faking it, like just like I think the other one again is I mentioned it again, is just like not being afraid I think it goes back to not being afraid to fail and not being afraid to like ask the dumb questions. Like again, like I know what my strengths are. I know I have certain strengths and I know I have a certain skill set and I know I've worked on things for myself that like set me apart. But at the end of the day, I'm still not going to know a lot of the baseball stats. And that's okay. I think everyone tries to like do everything and know like with I wouldn't understand hockey the way that I know hockey now without sitting in that office with Shane Willis and asking the dumbest questions. I think I literally asked what a power play was when I first like started in hockey. And he's like, "Who are you?" Like, and so it's like lean on the people that are experts and just put your ego aside and understand that somebody saw something in you to put you in the position that you're in and they want to set you up for success. They don't want you to fail. So it's okay to just like ask the dumb questions.
You're not saying people in this business have ego, are you? You're up, Paul.
Okay, Abby, we got to let you go because you got to get ready for MLB Quick Pitch, and you got to get into the studio and get your face and hair done and all that, and get ready
Yeah.
for tonight. So last question, we saved kind of the deepest one for last.
Okay.
The one thing about our business, right, is that it's just like it's a speeding bullet train, right? That there's no stops on, right? It's an express train.
Mm-hmm.
You get wrapped up in what you're doing every day, and every day is another project and the biggest one, and you got to make it the
Yeah.
best, and it's like a runaway snowball. But somewhere in all this, you got to keep your eye on the prize and goals down the road and accomplishments and things that you want to achieve, right? Let's just look 5 years down the road. Is there any particular dream project or role or anything else that
Yeah.
you've thought about that you want to work towards in the sports media landscape?
Yeah. I want my own show. I want a show that's mine. I want one that like, and Quick Pitch is my name's tied to it. And it's really cool to have that. And I think I'd say it a lot. I'm like, my show, in a way, because it's my baby right now. But that's a historic show that had a framework and we keep the integrity of what that show is. And that's, very special and unique to it. But I think like 5 years ago, you would have asked me and I would have been like, work for a national network or work for this network. And I've had to ask myself a lot lately, like, what's next? Because I am living the dream that I worked for. I think there's a bunch of other national networks that would be cool to get opportunities with. Absolutely. There's definitely still room to grow in a lot of different areas. And there's a lot of roles that I'd like, but I think the biggest, coolest, ultimate goal for me would be to have a show that I can sit back and be like, I came up with this concept. I, helped hire the people that are working on it. Like it is a representation of who I am at my core and how I can utilize my voice and everything that I've worked towards to be able to elevate and just continue to enhance like other people's voices and really truly make that impact. And I can sit back and have that creative freedom that it truly is something that like I put together and that, I was able to do. And so I think that would be really rewarding. And that's would be essentially the ultimate goal and very much something I'm actually actively working towards right now. So we'll see.
So in short, you want to be like George Clooney or you want to produce and star, correct?
And have a tequila brand. Honestly, yeah. Like literally, like, yeah, I would definitely.
That's the big three. That's the big three right there. Got it.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Abby, knowing you the way that I've known you since back to our Carolina days, I promise you that is going to happen. And when that happens, just don't forget about us little guys, okay?
Oh, whatever.
Here at
See, no,
Inside the
but
Truck.
this is something other people can learn too. Chopper and he is a massive reason why I have gotten to where I have gotten in this industry. And I would have never had those first few auditions or gotten those first few jobs without him and his voice and him always backing me. And here we are, how many years later, and we still have a fantastic relationship. And, he's probably going to direct my show one day. So,
Yes, deal.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Like these relationships last forever and it's really special and it's really cool to like see how we all grow with each other as we move on in this industry. So
there's no way to top that. Thanks for joining us, Abby Labar. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. You're the best.
Okay, Paul, first off, I got to mention when you're under the gun and you're doing an interview and Abby wasn't in a hurry, but we knew she had to get the best name I could come up with as a producer actor was George Clooney. But what I should have said was Reese Witherspoon. So I did a little look up and I thought Reese Witherspoon is the name I should have pulled out of my you-know-what instead of George Clooney. But Abby, God bless her. She was so gracious. She didn't say a word.
Yeah.
And one of the things she talked about was she used the word, she used the phrase, it's really freeing. And I thought, how many times have I given a speech to a commentator, a younger one, Nick Kiprios comes to mind, where I just kept saying, Nick, until you can be relaxed and just say what's like the first thing that's in your head without thinking it through, like click, 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 and then it comes out, you won't believe how much better a broadcaster you can be. And you can't teach that, and you can preach it forever. And then one day the guy comes to you, or the girl comes to you and says, oh yeah, I get it now. Oh yeah, I get it now. Some guys never say that, but Abby referred to that, and I thought, man, that is such a thing that some broadcasters never get. But when you get it, it's like a magic key, and it's almost the same for producers and directors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And with Abby, like, knowing her as long as I have, like, she is a very grounded person. She comes from an amazing, tight-knit family, brothers and sisters, and a family built on faith. So at her core, she, if that's your foundation, sky's the limit for you. And she's cracked the code. And like we mentioned in the interview, like, for me, truly, I believe like sky's the limit for her. She can take off and do whatever she wants.
It was funny because it reminded me of the movie City Slickers. I don't know if you've seen it, but Jack Palance looks over at Billy Crystal, and Billy Crystal says, what's the secret? And Jack Palance holds up one finger. And he says, what's that? And he goes, well, one thing, but you got to figure your thing out for yourself, or words to that effect.
Perfect.
And she obviously did. The other thing I thought was when she was talking about how she got in the business, I don't think I've ever said how I ended up as a TV producer. So I was working and it reminded me of the story when she was talking. So I was actually working for Hockey Night in Canada and the Edmonton Oilers as a statistician in the booth. But I was also working at the Royal Bank, spin the revolver put to the side of my head. Yeah. So
How may I help you today, sir?
Oh, you have no idea. My last day as a teller, I was out $21,000. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I didn't get fired. I just walked away. Anyway, I'm playing golf in the summer of, I'm going to say 1980 at Mayfair Golf Club in Edmonton. And I'm going down the third hole. I can still see it like it was yesterday. And the big mower is coming down the fairway. And I look up and it's a guy named Graham McCartney that I went to high school with. And he stops. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I didn't know you worked here. And he goes, yeah. And I said, are you going to school somewhere? He goes, yeah, I'm going to start at NAIT in radio and television arts. And literally, I wish I knew the day, time, and moment that he said that. And I just went, what? What even is that? What even is that thing? And he explained it to me quickly. And I went home. And in those days, the only way to get a calendar, which listed all the courses, was to phone them. They'll mail you a calendar. That day, I remember sitting at my desk, phoning, getting the calendar, and like,
wow,
this is what I want to do. And when Abby was talking, that was the only thing I could think of, was I had the very same moment as she did when she walked into that area at, I think she said University of Tennessee with her dad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I'm like, my God, that must have hit with everybody. Anyways, it just kind of went boing in my head. I feel like I should like insert a like boing in here.
Boing. Steve, I think it's more like wind chimes. Wind chimes is the only thing going off between your ears.
It was like it was yesterday, man. And it was, my God, that was 45 years ago. Holy cow.
That was your aha moment, right?
That was it. That was the aha moment. And the thing is, you never know when it's coming, right? If that's not Graham McCartney on that mower, we never have that conversation.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Graham McCartney. So that'll do it for episode 47. Remember, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Don't forget to follow Inside the Truck on X, Inside the Truck Podcast on Instagram to keep up to date with what's going on with the show. And check out our Inside the Truck channel on YouTube at Inside the Truck TV for some bonus content.
If you know someone who might like this episode of Inside the Truck, please let them know there are 46 more episodes just like this one. So have a listen. I'm Steve Lansky. He's Paul Hemming. You keep listening in... Oh, there's a list. It's a special shout out to our newest truckers in Garden Grove, California, Bensonville, Illinois, and, of course, the mushroom capital of the world. Oh, God, I love mushrooms. Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. You keep listening, everybody, and we'll keep bringing you Inside the Truck.